Hi everybody. I'm Paula from the Disabled Ramblers, and I am the Rambles Organiser who organises the Rambles for both our national calendar and regional calendar. I'm also the Secretary, and I do other things that you'll find out along the way. So to start with, who are we? We are Disabled Ramblers, and we run rambles across the countryside throughout the year. Normally, in a normal year, we would have rambles each month from April to October. Unfortunately, with COVID, that has restricted us somewhat. The national rambles consist of 4 rambles in a week. We aim to go to a different area each month. For example, this year, in July, I ran a week of rambles in Dorset, and then we've got Leicestershire and the Malverns for the rest of the year. But next year we're hoping to run the full programme, which will be in places like Northumberland, Derbyshire, possibly Scotland, and then as well as down south in the southwest, we've got Cornwall and Somerset, and a few other places in between. And this particular picture is of a national ramble that I ran a few years ago, and this is a place called Heaven's Gate. It's on the Longleat estate. There weren't any lions there though, fortunately, and that it was a lovely day actually, and the weather was kind too, which always helps. So a bit about us. We are a registered charity, and it was set up in 1990 by a guy called Dr. Mike Bruton. He was an engineer, worked for British Airways, and he was disabled, and he got all his apprentices to design this wonderful rickshaw, they called it, and they took it on a 50-mile ride along the Ridgeway, which, if anybody knows the Ridgeway, is incredibly bumpy and rutted, and it must have been not the very most comfortable ramble, but they did that for charity, and that was basically the start of it. We had our first proper ramble in 1992, and that was 40 miles along the Ridgeway, and I think that was spread out over a few days. And I've said a bit about running the rambles. When we do our national rambles, we have quite a lot of equipment that we take with us. We're very fortunate that we've got a trailer which goes on the national rambles, and that is called the Mobile Support Unit. In that, we take 4 hire scooters. They're all trampers. I don't know if anybody has seen trampers. And we loan those out to people that don't have them, and when they're out of the trailer then doubles up as a disabled toilet for the start of the day and also at the end of the day. We've also got something called a field service unit, which is a bit of a mouthful, and so we call it the FSU, and we hook that onto the back of a tramper, and at lunchtime, it's a trailer, and at lunchtime it doubles up as a disabled toilet. So it is good in terms of having access to facilities throughout the day. It also doubles up as brings all our sort of like emergency equipment if we need anything like that. I think it was 2018, it was actually on the news because they were on a ramble in Poldice Valley in Cornwall, and somebody on his bike had fallen off and quite badly broken his leg. And the group of disabled ramblers came across the biker and the ambulance men who were trying to figure out how to get him off the side of this valley. So it was either call in the air ambulance or put him in the back of one of our in the back of the trailer and tow him back to the ambulance, which is obviously it was filmed. I didn't put the thing one because it's quite long and it gets a little bit tedious after the first couple of minutes of somebody in the back of the trailer. But it was great. One of the other things, we do also run regional rambles, which are smaller, and they're generally run by someone locally, and you probably only end up with about between 5 and 10 people on them. We don't have the same facilities on those because we do have to have the right people to tow the trailer, and they're only available on the national rambles. One of our other remits is sort of improving access for everyone, because it's not just disabled people that have problems with access. You have families with buggies, and cyclists have problems at times as well. And a lot of our work, we work with a lot of organisations sort of together, and go to a lot of meetings and things like that. And sort of to give you an idea, recently I've advised a local council on a two-way gate. They'd had a complaint from somebody who was on a scooter and said that she couldn't access the gate. And also she said that her wheels kept getting caught on the bottom of it. So there were a couple of relatively easy fixes. I mean, first of all, I said, well, why didn't they just put a board at the bottom and that stop the wheels getting caught underneath it? And then we went out and had a look at the gate and went through it and things like that, and made a few suggestions to them. If you're interested in getting involved in the access side of things, locally to you, all councils in the country have something called a local access forum, and anyone can go along to the meetings, but you have to apply to actually get on the forum. So if you're interested in doing that, if you just Google local access forum for your council, or contact your local council, they'll be able to put you in touch with the meetings. How I got involved. In 2013, I was living in Cumbria, in the middle of nowhere, in the Ray of Sellafield, basically, in a small village there. I was in a wheelchair, and the DVLA had taken my driving license off me because of my medication. And I did feel completely trapped. And my husband was working at the time. So we discovered off-road scooters, and sort of went to try a few and didn't really like them, didn't feel particularly safe. And then we found trampers. So this guy came out with his scooters and said to me, go and have a play. And it was almost love at first sight. And within 5 minutes, I knew that that's what I wanted. I was very lucky to get a second-hand one. But the person that bought the tramper out told me all about the Disabled Ramblers. And so I had a look into it and joined, and went. It was probably the wrong thing to do, actually. The first ramble of the year was attached to the day before their AGM. And so foolishly, I went to the AGM first, and it was an AGM. I don't really need to say very much more. It was deadly dull, and I was like, oh no. But then the next day we went on the ramble, and it was just fabulous. It really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was near Woburn Abbey, in that sort of area. I can't remember the name of the place. But we're in this huge parkland, and and we sort of went through woods, we went down past rivers, and all that sort of really pretty stuff when you're out, you like to see. And then we moved, about a year later, we moved down to Wiltshire, which is where I am now. And there's a lot more rambling down in this way, that at the time there was a couple called Val and Bob who were amazing, and they ran lots of rambles. They did a lot of regional rambles in the New Forest and on the South Downs. They did a lot of work with access, and because of them, the South Downs today is virtually accessible, the whole route. I think there's possibly 2 or 3 gates or stiles that need changing. But from that, my husband and I found a route near us, which we just sort of went and did on our own. And then I thought it'd be quite nice to do it as a ramble. So Val and Bob helped me sort of with all the paperwork, and obviously we need to do the recceing and stuff like that. And it was from a place called Shearwater Lake to Heaven's Gate. And it was terrifying. I think it was 10 of us on the ramble, but it actually worked really well. And from then I got asked to do national rambles. And then within a few months, somebody mentioned the committee word to me, and I was, and the rest really is sort of, I suppose, history. I started out as secretary, and then they asked me if I'd do the Rambles Organiser. But now I also run the Facebook page. We've got a Facebook page which anyone can join. You don't have to be a member of Disabled Ramblers to join. I have got a links page, which I've already sent to Heather, which has got quite a few different links for people if they, want to have a look at the Facebook page and things like that. And I also do quite a lot of work on access. So although I'm retired, I'm actually really quite busy, which is good, because I'd hate to be sat around all day not doing very much. I think, why do I love going out and being close to nature? I think what I love is the fact that you see new things, especially with rambling. I meet a lot of new people. I meet friends, but I also meet some really nice people that work in the outdoors, like the National Trust people. And they're all, most people I've worked with and met through rambling have been really keen to help in any way they can. And I think that's one thing that I've been very surprised with, because I think, when I was sort of first disabled, I had a very negative view of it. But by doing this work, it has made me realise that, there's a lot of people out there that really want to change things and open up the countryside, and also, the local towns and cities. In terms of going out, it improves your physical and your mental health. Physically, it's proven to lower your blood pressure. It improves your sleep patterns. You feel more relaxed, and so you're not going to be all tensed up. And mentally, when you're outside and you're doing something that you love, you can only feel more relaxed, and you're not. I know when I go out, I don't sort of go out and think about all the things that are going on in my life. I tend to just sort of go out and see all the things around me, all the sights, the smells, some of them good, some of them not so good. And it just makes you feel physically and mentally better. And also, I have a lot of fun, whether it's just me going out around the village or going out in a group. Some of our rambles there are about 30 people on them, if not more. But it's not all, you're not there to talk about all your ailments and this is wrong with me and that's wrong with me. People just want to go out and have a good time and have a chat with their friends. And as I've said, after a day out in the countryside, it certainly improves my sleep. These are two members of Disabled Ramblers who every ramble you go on, they will fall asleep at lunchtime. So it obviously works for them. So starting out, when, if you've not been out for a long time, and I know, especially with COVID, I struggled starting that process to go back out again. I was shielding for a while, like, a lot of other people, and I was very fortunate that I had quite a big garden, so I could go and sit outside. But when you first start going out, it can be daunting. So, and people tend to think it's got to be this big challenge, or I've got to go out for the whole day, or I've got to get in the car and drive miles to go to some national park or somewhere like that. But actually, I always sort of say, start and keep it simple, start locally. If you're worried about going out somewhere, and you've not done it for a long time, then, go for a walk around your village or your town, or go to the local park, and then sort of progress from there. The other thing is, as well, is, I think, which is also very important, is know your own limits. Don't set yourself up to fail from the start, because if you go out for a day when actually all you can really cope with is 2 or 3 hours, then you're not going to enjoy the day, because you'll be worn out, you'll be shattered. And I know that when the times that I've gone and done something, which is quite often actually, gone out and overdone it, and I'll get home and I'll just be, this little heap at the end of the day. And I will have had a nice day, but sometimes if you're just so exhausted, you just can't appreciate it at the end, at the end of the day. So definitely learn to pace yourself. I'm saying this because I am possibly one of the worst people at pacing. So if you achieve it, well done. Obviously, one of the important things, I mean, a lot of these categories, like, they all lump into one, really. The planning. Before you're going to go, do your research. Make sure, if you're going somewhere a little bit further afield, look on Google for them, have a look, see what facilities they've got. Have they got things like disabled toilets? If you need a wheelchair or a scooter, do they have them there? Lots of places now have wheelchairs or these mountain trike chairs, and I know sort of places like the National Trust and the RSPB, quite a lot of them have trampers that you can use when you go there. So sort of like plan, look at that. If they've got scooters or wheelchairs that you need, do you have to book them? It's sort of all the it's logical, but when you're sort of planning, there's the amount of stuff you can forget is a lot. And also things like, what, is there facilities for food and drink, or do I need to take my own? I mean, it's always nice going out and having a picnic. Who doesn't love a picnic? And so we tend to take picnics, but then also quite often, if some places have got cafes, it's always nice to have a meal at lunchtime if you can. The other thing you need to think about is the safety side. Is if you're going on your own, let someone know where you're going, what time you're going to be back roughly. I mean, we've all done it. I've done it. I've gone out somewhere, told somebody where I'd gone, 9 o'clock that evening, had a phone call to say, "Are you home yet?" And I'd completely forgotten to let them know. So be aware of the safety. Another one for the safety is, I don't know if anybody's heard of What 3 Words, the app, but that is brilliant, because it's, apart from the fact it's free, if you have a smartphone, it will pinpoint where you are to within 3 square meters. So if you get lost or you have an accident or you break down or, you know, something like that, all the emergency services use them. And recently when we were in Dorset on the rambles, the first ramble we did was in Wareham Forest, and they last year had a very big wildfire, and as we were going round, there were these 2 men about 100 meters away from us with this huge, they had this huge fire. So we were a bit concerned because they weren't really taking a lot of notice of it. So we rang the ranger just to check, you know, to see if it was a fire that they were responsible for, and they weren't. And we were able to tell them where it was by 3 words. And then they went and checked it out. So it is very good. And it's also very good as a sat nav as well. And other things to think about is your clothing. If it's hot, take sun cream and a hat, and always take water, whether it's wet or dry, because you know, you do need to make sure that you hydrate, and that you're wearing the right things. You know, if it's raining, take your waterproofs. If it's, you know, dry, as I said, make sure you've got a hat. But out of all of that, the main thing to do is to enjoy your day and enjoy the memories that you make on that day. And my things, oh, there we go. This is me in one of my old scooters going through a tank track on Salisbury Plain. And it kept getting deeper and deeper. Fortunately, it didn't get too deep that I drowned. So I survived and came out the other end. And the other one is a picture of my husband. And he was enjoying himself, honestly. It doesn't look like he was, but he was just sort of sat there in his little world of his own. And I got just some comments from some of our members. I won't go through all of them, but the one in the middle, I'll tell you about. It was one of our members who came along. She was in her 80s, and she'd been diagnosed that she had terminal cancer. And she hired one of our scooters and came with her daughters. And they, at the start of the day, she was really, really anxious, really nervous, a bit worried about using the scooter. But we do all the, we train people, and they're not allowed to be let loose without being able to handle it. And at the start of the day, she was right at the back, sort of very slow. And then by the end of the day, we always have this thing is that nobody should go in front of the leader. And she would come whizzing up to me, and there's a big smile on her face, and then she'd whiz off in front of me and stop and whiz back, sort of like real devilish. And my husband said to her, you know, when we'd nearly finished, oh, have you enjoyed the day? And that was what she said, I'll remember this day for the rest of my life. And I just found that really quite moving, because it meant that much to her, and it means that much to a lot of our members as well. I've just got a short, if I'll get it to play, a couple of little pictures from, this was from the Dorset week, just a few photos to give you an idea of some of the, well, obviously the members and the routes we take. I didn't get any of the fire, to be fair, but some of the routes are fairly straightforward. You don't have to go off-road. You can, you know, you can, but then also we like to do a bit of water. Water's always very popular. I love water, and it seems that most of our members do as well. And that was very pretty there. And that's in the Wareham Forest. And I think that's the last one. And then this one is the Headon Valley. And it's just some of the places that we go to, and you don't think it would be accessible, but it is. And I know for me that, I mean, this was a week in Devon, just my husband and myself, and we got to some amazing places, and the scenery is just stunning. And the one thing that I really love about rambling is the fact that it gives me the freedom to go out and enjoy myself, even when the sign says no scooters, which it did on that one. I think really it was just the National Trust scooter wasn't allowed past that point. But it's, for me, it's changed my life totally, and I love it. And there's some lists of where you can hire scooters, and also maps where you can access routes. We tend to use View Ranger, and all the routes that we put on there, most of them are public, and they're under the category Walking with Wheels. So, and thank you very much for listening to me.